You talked about conspiracy theories, and you said you had some conspiracy theories about yourself, and I kind of wanted to see what's that about? What's going on there?
Well, I think that we live in a post-truth society in many ways. It's not because there aren't multiple truths, because that is true. But there's a consensus of truth that can come out of that. And politics has always generated conspiracies around people. There's other things too, right? Because really, it's a complex world, right? We all know that. We don't understand it all. It's just my individual brainstem, your individual brainstem, trying to sort it out. Literally, I mean, like scientifically, I'm like trying to create reality at the moment that we're talking. You know, like I'm going on past memories and I'm fucking creating it right this second. Truly, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, what conspiracies do is they bludgeon the truth. They bludgeon things that are just so easily Occam's razor, you know, if you want to talk about that, like the simplest answer is usually the correct answer,
right?
Because they make it more, it creates apophenia, which is this idea that you connect disconnected things. And it's how belief systems are built and ideologies are built, is because we have to, we are biologically, our imperative is to fucking connect all this stuff so we can stay alive, so I don't get murdered and my children don't get murdered or whatever it is, you know. And so conspiracy theories have flourished under the internet, and largely due to the platforms, the big three platforms, you know, Twitter, Facebook, all of those guys. Right. That's the YouTube. YouTube is the worst.
Yeah, absolutely.
Truly, the algorithms love it. They love and because the platforms, you know, thrive on eyeballs. It's all about outrage. And then, you know, the other piece that's happened with conspiracy theories is that they have gotten a mouthpiece within electoral politics that they never had before. There's always been elected officials who have believed in conspiracy theories, but they were always the minority now. And now you have somebody who ostensibly, although I see them in a diaper, with a bottle in their mouth, I can't see them as very powerful, but that person is the most powerful person on the planet, ostensibly, you know, whatever, if they're a figurehead. Not powerful to me.
I have no idea who could you possibly be talking about, right?
The tiny-handed orange one.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So he amplifies it. And so conspiracy theories, due to platforms and because of that shit fucker, excuse my language, he basically has amplified conspiracy theories that are dangerous to democracy far along. And the reason I care about them interpersonally is because as a subject of them, I have schizophrenic people that have emailed me for decades because I was under surveillance as a domestic terrorist in the United States, even though nothing had ever happened to me. It never was proved. It never, like, I was under investigation for 10 years by the FBI and multiple state agencies, and I still suffer from it. But they think I'm the poster child for their schizophrenic fantasy or idea of what's happening. And so it's not, and I have to say it's not real, but what happens is heartbreaking. Yeah. When I read the emails, when I get the calls, it's heartbreaking. And I used to get hundreds and hundreds of them. So that's one kind of conspiracy. This is just interpersonally. I'm not saying that I'm special or any of this stuff. I just want to contextualize. I can tell you my story because that's a story.
Yeah, I want to add too, because there's a skeptic YouTuber named Holy Kool-Aid, and I collaborated with him a year or two ago on a flat Earth video. And we started getting comments saying that me and him and other people that were on that video were all paid off by NASA. Like that was the comment section of people saying like we were all, you know, shills or something. And I never
see. It's totally true.
It's so weird. Like, I've seen that for other YouTubers and other people, but it's weird when it's about you. And it's like, I know firsthand that's not true. You know? Like,
sure, exactly. You're like, no, that's not what happened at all.
Yeah,
right? It's totally true. It's totally true. But the other conspiracy, which is the dark side, really much more dark side, is that, so that first conspiracy I was telling you about, those people, the echo chamber says, do not accept help. That psychologists and therapists who might help you. And so family members call, and it's terrible. So that's just the ones. The flip side is what you have is like the QAnons and all this. And that is trying to connect people who are not connected. And those lead to people being murdered like me. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I don't think I'm self-important, but I get in those conspiracy theories and they're like, hey, you're related to this thing. You're related to that thing. I should murder you to take you out of this, or friends of mine. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like, that's not even true. But the thing is, in post-truth, I can't fucking tell you that.
Right.
I have no choice. I cannot convince you in any way. And so I can't. So I just have to avoid it. And that has led to and with the amplification of shitfucker, has just led to so much strife and conspiracy theories, which have always been around. I've been around them all my life. I don't even mean like UFO and Bigfoot and stuff like that. I'm talking about like just political ones.
Right.
I just cannot believe that they have mainstreamed so much.
I can't believe it either. You know, I've been doing a lot of research on QAnon, and I've been talking about it quite a bit lately, just because I'm so worried about that being probably at least the most dangerous conspiracy theory of my lifetime.
It is
because it's
a
already
threat to democracy.
Yeah, the action's already there. There's people that have already, like the guy that held up the Hoover Dam, the guy that took his family hostage, the pizza guy. Yeah. It's like this. There's more action. Like, you don't see this kind of stuff with other kinds of, like, if you think JFK was murdered by whoever, you know, that's not something that inspires action too much. You know, you'll have maybe a conference about it, but like that's the extent of it. Whereas with the QAnon stuff, it's like, no, people are organizing over this stuff, and they have already committed acts of violence, or at least are making plans to do even more. And on top of that, we have political candidates in this country who also are endorsing the theories, which is very, very scary. I've never seen anything like that. I know conspiracies have always been around politics.
It's happened. Yeah. It's always happened. There's always been. Listen, I'm gonna say this. It's always right wingers. There is no left wing conspiracy. If you ask any person who leans left and that has been elected official for the last 50 years, none of them believe in conspiracy theories. It's always right leaning people. And I think that there's some biological imperative in that. There's like some hardwiring in it. I mean, that's true. I don't know what it is because I'm not a fucking brain scientist. But it's also the media ecosystems that they are a part of. And I think that's a very big problem, because the media ecosystems for right-wing people operate like cults. So if you lived in Waco, I don't know if you're familiar with the Branch Davidians or the Seventh-day Adventists of any.
I'm pretty aware. Yeah.
So you know how they operate, which is like they generate their own media. I'm not saying like it was like an empire or something, but everybody, the stories that are told
of information, the circulation of information,
and don't look to the outside because it's untrustworthy.
It's a closed system.
And so the right-wing media ecosystem has risen in the last 10 years. Is totally like that. It says, do not trust mainstream media, which is the media that all the rest of us get.
Now, I'll tell you
the regular media.
I'll tell you this though, because when it comes to QAnon, I might I don't know. This isn't necessarily a criticism.
It's a new religion.
Well, what I've seen with this is there's a pipeline from the kind of more spiritual types, you know, the Instagram influencers and stuff that are more free spirit, is not spiritual, but free spirit types. I'm seeing a lot of that, and there's a lot of evidence that those kinds of people are also getting into the QAnon stuff. Which these aren't people who are voting right necessarily, but they are people who may be exposed to kind of other ideas that you know, it's crystal healing and stuff like that. You know, I'm seeing a lot of that pull from these kinds of other sort of fringe communities into QAnon.
Yeah, but they've always been there. But I can tell you, without the right-wing media ecosystem, it would not exist. They would still be there. Your crystal healing buddy would still maybe believe some weird conspiracy, but they'd be in the woods and you wouldn't fucking know it. Or they're in New Mexico, you know, and you wouldn't even know it. But what's happening is all of it's being amplified now. And so there's people who are questioning, which is good, but then when they come to YouTube, the fucking thing leads them down this rabbit hole that just like it goes to more extremism of shit that should never be. It took me 5 years to get YouTube to take down a video of me on a conspiracy. I had to say, hey, look, stop this, stop it. It causes damage to me. 5 fucking years, YouTube.
YouTube is the worst when it comes to that. Absolutely.
But all of those people, what do they have in common is an untrust of the government. And then the only thing that in these worlds, I'm not talking about Bigfoot and UFOs and stuff. I mean, we can talk about healing crystals and shit. That's all separate. But
Sure.
just in the political world of QAnon and stuff, is that it's people who are questioning government, but not getting access to information. I question government, but I use a critical analysis in it.
Yeah, that was my next
Christian
question.
Government.
That was my next question, because in anarchist circles, do you find that there's any conspiracy stuff that goes around?
Sure, absolutely. Oh my gosh, yeah. There's whole belief systems within activist subcultures. Not there's beliefs. Listen, we're all brains trying to figure things out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so every subculture has its own self mirror of reflection. This is totally, like, this is not, I didn't make this up. Sociologists have done it. So yes, activism has it. Anarchy and anarchism within that spectrum has its own things. I don't agree with them. I don't believe it. So for me, it's a breakdown of all ideologies, not a rejection of ideologies, a critical analysis of all ideologies, whether they're fucking religious or secular. Because if you're going to question the government and you're going to think that it's way easier for 15 people to control the world than some crazy complex thing, that's not critical analysis. That's just fucking laziness, like our being spoon-fed stuff.
Oh yeah, the way I see it is, I think it comes down also to a lack of civics education, in the sense that people don't understand the complex systems that not only help figure out how the state runs, but also how the problems happen on a systemic level. Because when you realize,
that's totally true.
When you talk about inequality, for example, and you talk about what leads to inequality, well, we can look at racial disparity in this country. We can look at the minimum wage not changing for however long it's been now. We can talk, there's tons of ideas that may or may not contribute in a wide variety of ways. Or you could just say, it's the people. It's Jeff Bezos wants to bring us all down. Not that I'm saying
lizard shape-shifting people.
Yeah, lizard shapeshifters or bankers.
The bankers.
Yeah, and like the problem is there is like evil rich people. I'm not gonna say there's not, but it's not the way that people think it is.
There's class war. Class war.
I don't know. It's systemic. And if you don't talk about the nuances there, that might be lost on people. And the easier explanation might be able to say, well, it's just Bill Gates wants to get us all with the vaccines so he can control us or something. And I'm
gonna tell you, I wish it was that easy. Dude, it would be so easy, because you know why? We'd go to their house with torches.
We go to their house.
That's exactly what we would
right.
do.
Yeah.
Listen, I like, with crazy complex system, we have totally gone to their houses with torches.
Yeah.
Recognizing that shit's complex and like, hey man, you can't build Frankensteins that are gonna kill us all, or whatever it is.
Totally true. Yeah, absolutely.
And but what happens is that you get like in any zealotry, which is now happening. I mean, QAnon in particular, I don't know, we don't have to keep going on about it, is it's problematic because people will be murdered from it. You can predict, I'm predicting it right now. Wait, they've already been murdered from it? Oh yeah, that's true. And they're going to continue to be murdered from it.
Yeah.
And you have a shit fucking president of the United States, which, dude, I never come on and talk about the president ever, because he is irrelevant in my life and I hate them all. So just so you know, it's like I'm not loving this president and hating this one. I hate them all, but this one's especially particular. Like the U.S. and the world the fallout is going to take decades to get out of this. Of all the things that have happened.
Yeah.
And conspiracies roll all through all of this, and I don't want any of the warriors for that to keep murdering people on the street. Like in our own town in Austin here, they murdered somebody 3 weeks ago. In Kenosha, Wisconsin, they murdered somebody. There's been 20 driving incidents. That is all fear-based from this right-wing media ecosystem and some conspiracies around QAnon specifically, which is headed towards being a new religion, and I fucking hate it.
It already is, honestly.
It is, actually.
People who have studied cults have really made that commentary already. But I think the internet is just the most beautiful mistake humanity has ever made, right? Because it allows us to do something like this right here, where we can talk and we can meet others and join in communities, but it also creates these echo chambers and media ecosystems that just just
can
tear
be
people
manipulated.
apart.
It's not just
Yeah.
random, but just be clear about it. Like the platforms, they're corporate driven, so they want money, right? That's fine. Like
excellent point.
That's their agenda. But they also have no transparency about the way they are, and they encourage outrage because it keeps people on it.
You're right.
YouTube, I keep saying it is particular, but Facebook also. People, like, they took down just last week a bunch of Antifa, anti-fascist people who want to fight against racism. They took about a bunch of websites and news sites and stuff, hundreds of them, but also thousands of QAnon sites because they see them as the same, and that's problematic because there's no way to deal with that. And so you just lump everything together, and that's not democracy in the way the United States knows it, and that is not liberation the way I know it.
Yeah. And everyone always asks again, like, what can we do about that with the QAnon stuff? Man, that's tough. I don't know if anybody has great answers, but we try to have conversations, and that's what we're gonna do today in just a second.